Every year we hear the same thing. Games are getting stale and we need something new. But then a dev actually comes along and tries something different, and suddenly the same community is saying, this isn't the game I grew up with, or why did they ruin it? It makes you wonder, do we really want innovation, or do we want to keep replaying the same familiar experiences with a little bit of polish on top? In today's video, that's what I'm going to be discussing, so let's dive into it. First thing I want to talk about is how gamers crave stability more than they admit. A new FIFA feels familiar because you already know the menus, the movement and the commentary. Even if there are tiny updates, it feels safe, you can just plug and play. The same goes for Call of Duty. People say they want change, but every time Treyarch or Infinity Ward try something different, the community begs to go back to the basics. Familiarity is comforting because it plays into muscle memory. You don't have to learn the game again, you can just enjoy it, and that illusion of effort-free fun is mistaken for a game being good. That's why franchises can get away with yearly releases that barely change. The player base secretly wants that comfort, even if they can play in online. The next thing I want to talk about is how innovation feels so risky. Innovation forces players out of autopilot. It requires attention, relearning, and patience. And most gamers don't want to buy a £70 title to feel like they're struggling. Advanced Warfare brought jetpacks, and this was a genuine leap forward, but it was diversive because it pushed players out of their comfort zones. On the dev side of things, innovation does cost time and money, so it's safer to stick with small tweaks and cosmetic changes game on game, rather than risk upsetting a whole entire fanbase. And when it fails, it's absolutely brutal. I mean, we've seen this with Infinite Warfare. The jetpacks, the wall running, the futuristic space warfare battles. Nobody wanted it after Advanced Warfare. We wanted to go back to what we knew. The thing is, there has been times where innovation has actually worked, unlike with Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare where it's gone sour and upset a whole entire fanbase. The key isn't change for change's sake. It's innovation that feels additive. Fortnite is a prime example of this. Building wasn't just a gimmick, it gave players new strategies and ways to express creativity, while the Battle Royale formula underneath still felt familiar. In Apex Legends they introduced the ping system, and this did the same thing. It didn't reinvent Battle Royale, but it solved a real issue: communication. It made playing without a mic actually viable, and now it's a standard feature across the industry. Even Warzone's Gulag system was a great example of this. Instead of instantly spectating after death, you had a shot of redemption. It kept players engaged and created an extra tension which fit the Battle Royale formula perfectly. When innovation feels like it's adding freedom or making the game more fun, players actually embrace it. When it strips away what made the game enjoyable, it gets rejected. As a community, I think we have to recognize nostalgia versus new ideas too. Nostalgia is one of the biggest barriers to innovation. Players remember how they felt playing old games, and that emotion shapes how they judge new ones. Call of Duty is the clearest example of this, because people beg for classic COD, but if you revisit MW2 or Black Ops 1, you'll notice the broken perks, unfair kill streaks and clunky mechanics. Reality never lives up to the memory. This is why so many different games flop at launch but get love years later. Halo Reach's armor abilities were slammed for being not Halo, yet now it's looked back on as one of the best in the series, one of the most creative entries. The truth is, nostalgia isn't about mechanics, it's about the time and the place you played the game. That feeling can never be recreated, which means any attempt at innovation will always be judged against an impossible standard. I do think the developers struggle with balancing things. Developers are always walking a tightrope. Too safe and fans call it lazy, too bold and fans say it's ruined. Look at Battlefield 2042. It tried to modernize the formula with specialists and a bigger player count, but in doing that it lost the identity that made Battlefield so unique. Fans just wanted the core gameplay to be refined, not reinvented. On the other side, Warzone's evolution shows how iteration can work. Instead of tearing up the formula, each update added new maps, weapons and mechanics, keeping it fresh without losing the essence of what made it fun. Maybe what players really want isn't innovation but iteration. Small steps forward that keep the DNA intact while smoothing out the rough edges. Think Elden Ring. It didn't reinvent Souls gameplay, it just made it bigger and more accessible. So maybe the real question isn't, do we want innovation in gaming, but more like, how much change are we actually comfortable with? Because as much as we love to demand big leaps forward, most of us still want games that feel like the ones we fell in love with at the start. Don't get me wrong, innovation isn't bad, in fact it's necessary for the industry to grow, but the kind of innovation we actually embrace usually isn't radical. It's the type that feels like an old home with some new furniture. And maybe that's the balance gaming will always live in. Trying to surprise us without making us uncomfortable, pushing the boundaries just enough to keep things fresh while still letting us stay in our comfort zones. Let me know what you guys think on this down below, and if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. That being said guys, it's been Jxey. Stay awesome.